Richard Boone was born Richard Allen Boone on June 18, 1917, in Los Angeles, California, into a family that valued intellect, history, and discipline. His father was a corporate lawyer, and his mother came from a background shaped by Jewish immigrant resilience, giving Boone an early exposure to diverse perspectives. He was also a distant relative of frontiersman Daniel Boone, a lineage that would later feel symbolic given his future in Westerns. Boone's youth blended privilege with rebellion. He pursued art at Stanford University, but struggled academically, leading him to leave formal education behind. Rather than discouraging him, this setback hardened his resolve to live on his own terms. He worked physically demanding jobs, boxed professionally, and ultimately enlisted in the U.S. Navy during World War II, serving bravely as an aerial gunner in the Pacific. These experiences forged Boone's lifelong independence and shaped the quiet intensity he later brought to his performances. From war veteran to serious actor, after returning from the war, Richard Boone turned his focus to acting with a seriousness that set him apart from many of his contemporaries. Using the GI Bill, he studied at the prestigious Actors Studio in New York, immersing himself in method acting and dramatic discipline. Boone believed acting was not about glamour, but about truth, emotional honesty, and intellectual engagement. He began on stage before moving into film and television, steadily building a reputation for authority and depth. Early roles in films such as The Robe and Dragnet showcased his commanding presence, but it was television that truly revealed his range. Boone's breakthrough came with Medic, where he portrayed Dr. Conrad Steiner with empathy and realism, helping redefine television drama in the 1950s. The role proved Boone could carry complex emotional material without exaggeration, earning respect from audiences and peers alike, and establishing him as a performer who valued substance over spectacle. The iconic legacy of Have Gun Will Travel. Richard Boone achieved lasting fame with his portrayal of Paladin in Have Gun Will Travel, a role that remains one of television's most intelligent Western characters. Unlike traditional gunslingers, Paladin was cultured, morally reflective, and unpredictable, quoting Shakespeare as easily as he drew a gun. Boone shaped the character carefully, blending intellect, menace, and compassion into a figure that challenged simple notions of heroism. The series ran for 6 successful seasons and became a defining work of post-war television, appealing to viewers who wanted more thoughtful storytelling. Boone's performance elevated the Western genre, proving it could explore ethics, identity, and consequence. His calm authority and sharp voice made Paladin unforgettable, and the role cemented Boone's place in television history. Even decades later, Paladin remains a reference point for complex television protagonists, reflecting Boone's commitment to portraying layered human beings rather than one-dimensional heroes. Film roles and a preference for complexity. Beyond television, Boone maintained a strong film career, often choosing roles that explored moral ambiguity rather than clear-cut heroism. He appeared in films such as The Tall T, Rio Conchos, The Warlord, and Big Jake, frequently portraying antagonists or deeply flawed men. Boone believed conflict revealed character, and he was drawn to roles that allowed him to explore internal struggle. His performance style was restrained but powerful, relying on subtle gestures and vocal control rather than theatrics. Directors valued his ability to add credibility and gravity to any production. Boone's screen presence conveyed intelligence and danger simultaneously, making him especially effective in westerns and historical dramas. Rather than chasing stardom, he prioritized artistic integrity, sometimes at the expense of broader popularity. This selective approach reflected Boone's belief that acting was a craft, not merely a profession, and it earned him enduring respect within the industry. Personal life, stability, and reflection. Richard Boone's personal life evolved alongside his career, marked by early instability and later balance. His first 2 marriages were brief and coincided with periods of uncertainty in his professional life. In 1951, he married Claire McAloon, a partnership that lasted until his death and provided him with lasting emotional stability. Together they raised a son, Peter Boone, who appeared briefly on Have Gun Will Travel, reflecting a close family bond. Boone valued privacy and guarded his personal world carefully, preferring meaningful relationships over Hollywood social life. A serious car accident in 1963 served as a turning point, prompting Boone to reflect on mortality and purpose. Afterward, he increasingly sought fulfillment beyond acting alone, developing interests in writing, teaching, and community involvement. This inward turn revealed Boone as a thoughtful, introspective man whose identity extended far beyond his screen persona. Stepping away from Hollywood's spotlight, in the 1970s, Boone consciously distanced himself from mainstream Hollywood, seeking a quieter and more grounded life. He spent time in Hawaii, where he taught drama and became involved in local theater, appreciating the absence of industry pressure. Later, he moved to St. Augustine, Florida, embracing regional cultural work over national fame. Boone became deeply involved in the long-running historical production Cross and Sword, contributing his experience and stage presence for many years. His dedication earned him recognition as Florida's cultural ambassador, an honorary role acknowledging his commitment to the arts. Boone also wrote a newspaper column titled It Seems to Me, offering thoughtful commentary on culture, politics, and life. These pursuits revealed a man who valued dialogue, reflection, and community impact more than celebrity, reinforcing his belief that artistic responsibility extended beyond screens and box offices. Philosophical differences with John Wayne. Richard Boone's relationship with John Wayne has often been described as strained, but it was rooted more in philosophy than personal hostility. Both men were icons of the Western genre, yet they represented very different approaches to acting and public life. Boone was academically trained, introspective, and inclined toward moral complexity, while Wayne embodied confidence, tradition, and mythic Americana. Their political views also diverged sharply, reflecting broader cultural divides within mid-century Hollywood. While they worked together professionally, including on The Alamo and Big Jake, mutual respect did not necessarily translate into personal closeness. Boone preferred artistic debate and questioned authority, whereas Wayne favored hierarchy and decisiveness. These contrasts sometimes created tension on set, but they also highlighted the diversity of perspectives within the industry. Rather than a personal feud, their differences symbolized competing visions of art, patriotism, and performance during a transformative era. Why Boone missed John Wayne's funeral. When John Wayne passed away in 1979, Richard Boone's absence from the funeral drew public curiosity. However, several factors offer a reasonable explanation. Boone was intensely private and uncomfortable with public displays of mourning, particularly those surrounded by media attention. He believed grief was personal and not meant for spectacle. At the time, Boone was also experiencing declining health, including the early effects of the illness that would later claim his life, making travel and long ceremonies difficult. Additionally, Boone had largely withdrawn from Hollywood's social circles, living far from Los Angeles and focusing on regional work and personal reflection. While Boone and Wayne shared professional history, they were not close friends, and Boone likely saw no obligation to attend a public event that conflicted with his values. His absence was less a statement than a quiet adherence to personal principle and integrity. Final years, death, and enduring legacy. Richard Boone passed away on January 10, 1981, at the age of 63, following complications from throat cancer. He faced his illness with the same stoic resolve that defined his career, remaining at home in St. Augustine, surrounded by loved ones. After his death, his ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean near Hawaii, a place that had brought him peace and renewal in later life. Boone is remembered as a serious actor, a thoughtful writer, and a man of conviction who refused to conform to easy expectations. His portrayal of Paladin remains a landmark in television history, influencing generations of complex protagonists. More than fame, Boone sought meaning, authenticity, and intellectual honesty. His life stands as a reminder that legacy is not only built on popularity, but on the courage to live and create according to one's principles.